All right, there's a new warning today on just how COVID-19 is impacting the auto industry. Ford says staffing restrictions at an engine plant in Mexico are not sustainable. And the U.S. ambassador to Mexico says the company may have to start shutting down U.S. plants if they can't get enough engines. Yahoo Finance senior columnist and car guru Rick Newman is here. Rick, big deal for Ford here?
Yeah, I think the whole auto industry has been dealing with this since the COVID became a problem at the end of February. So, supply chains are incredibly tight in the auto industry. They've gotten used to just-in-time supplies. So you need engines coming down the supply chain tomorrow. They might arrive today or just a couple of days ahead of time. And tons of automotive equipment just goes back and forth across the southern border with Mexico because of all the supply factories that are down there. So cutting back on capacity at one plant across the south of the border for sure can impact production here. I think what's likely to happen is Ford is squawking about this and raising it to the level of, senior government officials in both countries. I think they're going to work something out. I mean, Ford and the other automakers have figured out how to operate their assembly lines here, putting up plexiglass between workstations and stuff like that. So maybe they will export some of those new operating procedures down to Mexico and get this straightened out. But for now, Ford's got a little problem.
Is it just Ford having a little problem? What about some other automakers when it comes to their supply chain and Mexico? And if they have to pivot, how do they do that? I mean, margins are already pretty squeezed.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem we heard about because it got raised to a high enough level that you had senior officials in both countries talking about it. I think the automakers have continual problems. I mean, they've set up supply chain war rooms to figure out that if you can't get a part from some part in the supply chain, and by the way, this is not just their own factories, it's what they call the second tier and third tier suppliers, all the companies that subcontract to the automakers. I mean, remember, there are thousands of parts that go into an automobile, and they all have to, arrive at the final assembly plant in the right order on time. I mean, it's complicated. So I think all the automakers are dealing with this, and they're just, playing whack-a-mole. As a problem comes up with coronavirus in one area, they try to figure out how do they keep that plant operating? Can they get the parts from someplace else? This is just what they do, and I'm sure there's tons of this going on behind the scenes.
Hey, Rick, Ines here. Switching gears just a little bit, Rivian CEO just recently gave a media interview, basically saying that their semi-truck, that's expected to come out next year. So could it be the first company actually to come out with an EV semi-truck that would compete against Tesla's and Nikola's?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't have them all in a spreadsheet based on when they're supposed to come out. So I can't tell you who's likely to be first, but the race is on for sure. And I think one of the reasons all these companies want to get a big 18-wheeler, an electric 18-wheeler out, is it's a great platform for electrification because it's large and it gives you a lot of space to put the batteries. That's actually a better platform than a passenger car where you have to figure out ways to cram that battery pack in without interrupting the passenger cabin and things like that. Plus, if you can put these on the roads, I mean, I think the trucking fleets, if they could look at this and say, wow, we can really save money here. I mean, you'd instantly have a very large market as long as the economics make sense, much larger probably than you'd have for passenger cars where it's catching on just incrementally. So we are for sure going to see these things showing up on the highways within the next couple of years. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, Rick, I exchanged an email yesterday with Nikola's founder, Trevor Milton. I asked him about that video he put out of the truck. He said he was just happy now he could show people that they actually have a truck and it exists. Rick, you've seen a lot of stories in autos through the years. Is a Nikola for real?
I think so, because it is staffed by some auto industry veterans. So they've got some real expertise and some talent in the company. I mean, you're raising like the vaporware, the Phantom company question, which I think is legitimate because we have seen a lot of electric car companies, the Fisker Karma, for example, that put out these really great looking products and then the company flops. So we could see some failures in this space if it gets oversaturated. I think Nikola is for real, but let's get, you don't know until the product shows up on the street.
Or in your driveway, Rick Newman.
True.
All right, let's leave it there. Rick Newman, always good to see you.
Bye, guys.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.